All right, everybody, welcome back to another Yeatum stream. We're kicking back up our Intel Roundtable sessions. We're targeted for Monday, 2 p.m. Central Time, and after a little bit of a break, we're back at it with these community events. So really the intent is to make all this content, and we have a lot to go over, and there's been a lot that's happened in markets since the last time we started recording these. So I'm going to go ahead and dig right in. First, we're going to start with some Yeatum updates. So first things first, we have a free tier now available with Yeatum Atlas. If you can see on my screen here, we have a free tier. You don't get support or rank, but either way, it's free. You get access to the Discord, the app, everything in between. Come join us. Help us tell us how we can make our content better, our information better, more consumable, digestible, and help you be more cyber and financial and money smart. So join a like-minded community, join myself and many others that are mission-oriented about promoting cyber and financial consciousness. And we want to make that as free and accessible as possible. So with that also said, we've added some additional what we call Intel drip feeds within our Discord. You can see on the right side here that we're monitoring ransomware hits. We're also have a persistent cyber threat intelligence feed from curated sources. Our cyber news and market OSINT ones are new or been old. And then our rooters feed that we have nonstop coming in here, and as well as government financial intelligence. So we're tracking RSS feeds from the BIS, the New York Fed, the U.S. Treasury directly, and all that stuff is all right here, free, accessible, ready to help. You learn and understand what your government's doing with money, how you can be more cyber smart, how you protect yourself better on the internet, and much more. So that's enough with the Yeatum updates. If you enjoy everything that we do or the work that's done, please make sure to like and subscribe. But with that said, one last update is we're going to have these here on my left side. You can see these intelligence reports will soon be a part of the Yeatum Cloud. So in a nutshell, we're going to have like an executive synopsis based off the data we collect. We're going to show you some signals on government contracts, insider trading, stock trends and stock trend signals and sentiment signals, and then top CVEs or hacks you may want to worry about. I think we're going to focus on consumer CVEs and like business ones, but we'll figure it out. And then headlines from all the same thing from that RSS feed. So we'll just make it here digestible. And another way to broadcast to the internet, everything that we're doing. So one of the biggest things that happened within markets is the bankruptcy of Silicon Valley Bank. Silicon Valley Bank was the prime brokerage essentially for most startups operating out of Silicon Valley and the tech industry as a whole. It comprised tons of investors, venture capitalists, Chinese investors, and many more that had over $250,000 or the FDIC limit available to them in the bank. So with them going under, and to be clear, for them going under was because of bonds failing. So what's typically considered risk-free return was the exact risks that imploded them. You might hear they're like, oh, they're working with crypto or Bitcoin. No. It was bonds. Bonds brought them under, which then catalyzed a bank run on them, Signature Bank, and overall the system as a whole. So there's a decent amount of systemic contagion there, and a lot of extra vigilancy with the financial sector at large. There's a lot of different ways you could think about the situation, but and what that means for smaller banks, community banks, local banks, and would they have over $250,000 insurance for their depositors? There's a lot of things what that means with the federal government coming in and securing all the deposits beyond the FDIC limit. But it's an overarching force of further centralization to the too big to fail banks and too big to fail tech. It's kind of like a little hybrid mix of where the nexus of that is, and even with some certain foreign influence factors there. There's a lot of macro tethering with the SIVB situation. And large thing that we talked about. And if you don't follow Concodenomics on Substack or Twitter, I highly recommend you do so. I'm going to kind of dig into their macro brief a little bit and sort of my interpretation the best I can. And I highly advise you follow them. They've done a lot of the heavy lifting on this, but we've been following this general thesis for a while. So before I dig into these charts, the one thing you have to know is that the systemic threat to the U.S. Treasury bond at large is the shadow money markets that's over $2 trillion abroad. That's essentially all the risk that was moved on since the great financial crisis of 2008, since moved abroad, and now is all contained within a lot of these shadow lenders and money markets that are primarily providing liquidity and issuing debt through treasuries, U.S. treasuries as collateral, and then state-issued mortgage-backed securities. So make sure you understand what that means. So this comes from the Federal Reserve, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and we'll dig into that here. So for those of you that don't know what a repurchase agreement is, essentially a repo facility is an overnight lending facility that has been adopted by the banks. I'm not going to dig into each one of these steps here, but essentially it's an overnight liquidity facility. This is when there's balance mismatches overnight, and these have been at like a persistent record-breaking level. You have to, again, integrate this into your risk management of government and everything going on. So the thing about here is you just understand how they switch from assets to liabilities, implement the repo, and then how they return it all again. And in this explainer, repos are loans designed to reduce risk for the lender. Borrowers obtain cash for a fee, but also pledge safe assets as collateral to reduce potential losses from a default, etc. for the lender. So, again, just some fancy finance stuff. Shadow finance, really. Okay, so this is the repo market visualized. Again, another kind of convoluted graphic. It's all backstopped by the Federal Reserve, and it's sort of these advanced structures designed to mitigate these liquidity issues, primarily using like a high-quality liquid asset like Treasury bonds, which is the number one asset in terms of dollar pricing and everything beyond it, with LIBOR and so forth. I won't dig into this much here. Just kind of take a glance at it. If you need this, just hit me up. I'll give it to you, and I can show you where to get it. But either way, you kind of understand this structure, and the main two things is like the tri-party or the two-party. So when there's like multiple, when there's three people involved, or essentially two entities involved, or entities, not people. It's a lot more than three people. But yeah. There's a lot to sort of digest. I just in the simplest way to think about it, just think, okay, like at the nexus of Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, like you see on the right, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, I just said Goldman twice, Citibank, and then even further institutions is these facilities. And this is at the heart of what gives them cash and liquidity overnight to do all their other market operations and market making activities. So now there's a reverse repo, and the tri-party repo is a market for short-term cash loans secured by state-issued securities. It reduces risk for less sophisticated entities by offering clearing, custody, and settlement, thereby boosting liquidity and increasing market depth. $1 trillion is transacted daily. That's a lot of money. $1 trillion is a lot of money. Again, this is more the when there's three parties involved. But again, it's all private structure, and it shows how these globally systemic important banks sort of are really doing government work by making sure all this is plumbing right. And it's kind of weird to think of it that way, but they're backstopped and protected by the government, and they'll keep them up for that. But the small man, the little man, the small business, the mom and pop shop, small bank, the local bank, they don't get it. That's the nature of the beast at the moment. So, take that for what you will. Okay. And then here's just a basic, I'm not going to say basic because it's not basic. This is a treasury market structure diagram. And you kind of just see how it goes from the interdealer brokers to the primary dealers and broker dealers, and then to clients. And then kind of it might go in between like principal trading firms, so all the big trading operations at all the major financial institutions. Which a lot of that is actually just machines now and algorithms. So yeah, just kind of understanding of like, okay, there's sort of what you and I would buy, and I'm only a retail investor guy, but even accredited clients or even ultra high net worth clients, they might have their own principal trading firms, or if they're very large, but for the most part they would fall in this client structure, and then obviously some sort of mesh or in between, or actually are part of this web as a financial web as a whole, and at a higher echelon. So just keep that in mind. So with that said, that's kind of all we have for today. Thank you for tuning in. For anyone that's watching, we're going to make sure to try to do this a lot more often. And if you have stuff you want us to talk about, pop in here. We're in the Edom Synergy Discord. Check us out. Share with, invite your friends. Hit us up, engage us, help promote our work. Follow us on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and the likes. And let us know how we can improve, how we can make this easier. How I can explain it better. If you think there's things you could do to help, that's also appreciated. You want to be a community manager, moderator, help promote engagement, grow users, content, anything. Hit us up, hit me up, and we'll figure out how to collaborate. So with that said, everyone have a great and blessed rest of your week, and I hope you found this useful.